Yo guys, Spiderbot here, and it's another day and yet another theory for DLC pack number 2, Black Ops 2. Of course, we're going to be looking at it from a zombies perspective, but there is, or maybe, a little bit of info about multiplayer as well. Now, invariably, as is the case these days, we're probably going to see some bitching about who was first with what information. Whatever information we gathered, we're going to put links in the description, okay? So I'm not going to mention the video, because that way I can update it. If somebody complains, no, he wasn't first, I was first, then we can update in the description, all right? Fair enough? The first image we're going to show you is an image of the Black Ops 2 Revolution DLC page on callofduty.com. Apparently, there may have been an update to the page yesterday that included a reference to a new JPEG image that supposedly hasn't been uploaded to callofduty.com. And it outs DLC Pack 2 as Uprising. DLC2-Uprising-BG or background.jpg. Now, I know we've seen all these fake poster images for DLC Pack 2, and obviously those are coming from who knows what source, but here we're looking at the source code on callofduty.com. You gotta give some credibility to that. Now, the second piece of information that sort of confirms possibly that this next DLC pack will be called Uprising and also gives some further information has been taken supposedly from a description of a yet unreleased new Xbox Live theme that seems like it would coincide with the release of the DLC pack number 2. And the description of this theme, supposedly in the official site source code, wherever that is, for Xbox Live. Download the epic Call of Duty Black Ops 2 Uprising theme, featuring Studio, Vertigo, and the Mob of the Dead, Treyarch's most terrifying zombies experience to date. So this theme supposedly is going to feature what I'm thinking are 2 of the probably 4 multiplayer maps that are going to be released with the map pack, Studio and Vertigo, and this new map for Call of Duty Zombies, or Black Ops 2 Zombies, called Mob of the Dead. Okay, so let's start the speculation. Of course we're going to speculate. And what we're going to do is assume that is completely unrelated to the tweets that Jimmy Zielinski and Peter Livingstone have been tweeting out the past couple days that I reported on yesterday, okay? So we're just going to completely disregard all of that, and we're going to look at the new Zombies map from the perspective of Uprising, which is supposedly going to be the map pack name, as well as Mob of the Dead, and the portion of the description that says Treyarch's most terrifying zombies experience to date. We're going to try and relate that back to what we know of possibly the theme of these zombie maps in Transit, as well as Die Rise, The Great Leap Forward, and Green Run. Okay, so the first thing I did was punch in historical uprisings into Google, all right? Now, if you think of the term uprising and sort of put it together with like a political protest or political uprising, it's almost similar, or very, very similar to revolution, okay? It's along the same theme, let's put it that way. So you have a revolution, you have an uprising, you have a rebellion, stuff like that, okay? So it's all very, very similar. But the first hit we get is from a site that lists 10 historically significant political protests. So I click on that, and we go to a page that you can scroll through these 10 historically significant political protests. A history of uprisings. Political protests, both violent, peaceful, and downright strange, have a rich past with varied degrees of success in accomplishing what they originally set out to do. Okay, so we're going to scroll through here. The first is, or number 10, I guess, the Protestant Reformation, the storming of the Bastille, and number 9, Gandhi's Salt March, the Boston Tea Party, South Africa's National Day of Protest, March on Washington, Tiananmen Square, Berlin Wall protests, Iraq War protests, and the Orange Revolution. Now, the one that really stood out for me was number 9, the storming of the Bastille. This one act of July 14th, 1789 has come to symbolize the entire French Revolution, and indeed was a major catalyst to the 10-year-long rebellion against the crown. On that day, a throng of Parisians descended on the Bastille, long a symbol of royal authority and excess, beheaded its governor, and overtook the prison. Now, the reason why this particular incident interested me is, number one, because it fits with the theme of, Green Run and the Great Leap Forward. It was a significant event in the history, the cultural and political history of a country, in this case, France. Green Run, we had USA. In the Great Leap Forward, we had China. In, the storming of the Bastille and the French Revolution, or French Uprising, quote unquote, we have France. Now, a couple of other things drew me to this particular event in history. Number two was the fact that it's France. And I know there have been rumors on a lot of the forums that possibly there would be a map in France. There was talk about Paris. The other thing is that there was talk about the next map being in a prison. And this is, the Bastille, it was a prison. It was formerly a prison. At the time, it was holding munitions and only had, I think, 7 prisoners when the storming of the Bastille happened. I just think it would be an excellent backdrop for a freaking cool zombies map being in this old, 1789 prison. So let's talk a little bit about the French Revolution, which was a period of radical social and political upheaval in France that had a lasting impact on French history and more broadly throughout the world. The absolute monarchy that had ruled France for centuries collapsed within 3 years. French society underwent an epic transformation as feudal, aristocratic, and religious privileges evaporated under a sustained assault from radical left-wing political groups, masses on the streets, and peasants in the countryside. So again, another significant event like that Great Leap Forward, which, that the famine that occurred in the Industrial Revolution that the Chinese tried to ensure, turned into this millions of people died because of this famine. Okay, so the storming of the Bastille occurred in Paris. So the Bastille is in Paris, France, on the morning of July 14th, 1789. The medieval fortress and prison in Paris, known as the Bastille, represented royal authority in the center of Paris. And as I mentioned, the prison only contained 7 inmates at the time. It was during the reign of Louis XVI. They faced a major economic crisis, partially initiated by the cost of intervening in the American Revolution, and exacerbated by a regressive system of taxation. So what actually happened here, on the morning of that July 14th, the city was in a state of alarm. There were demonstrators, had earlier stormed a hotel to gather arms. Apparently, in Paris, they kept arms in hotels. But they wanted to get more arms, and the Bastille was known for holding large quantities of arms and ammunition. So there were a crowd of people, or quote-unquote a mob. There were probably fewer than about 1,000, but it was still a mob. The crowd gathered outside around mid-morning, calling for the surrender of the prison, the removal of the guns, and the release of the arms and gunpowder. And it just escalated. So to make a long story short, they ended up attacking. They broke in. The defenders at the Bastille fired on the crowd, I think up to 100 attackers, or 98 attackers, and 1 defender died in the actual fighting. There was a governor in charge of the Bastille who was captured and then subsequently killed. And the mob went back and got the mayor, or roughly the mayor. I guess he was a prévôt et marchand, Jacques de Flessel. He was accused of treachery, and he was assassinated en route to an ostensible trial at the Palais Royal. Okay, so that's some details on the French Revolution and the storming of the Bastille. There's one other little detail that sort of, again, drew me to this the possibility of this being the next map. Now, there's one image that I captured from the storming of the Bastille on Google Images, and it's this one here, and you'll notice, sort of at the top right, you have this reign of terror. Interesting. Reign of Terror. Treyarch's most terrifying zombie experience to date? Hint? Hint? I don't know. Anyways, this Reign of Terror, also known simply as the Terror, was the period of violence that occurred after the onset of the French Revolution, incited by conflict between rival political factions, the Girondins and the Jacobins, and marked by mass executions of enemies of the revolution. The death toll ranged in the tens of thousands, with 16,594 executed by guillotine. Of those, 2,639 were in Paris, and another 25,000 in summary executions across France. Okay, again, all this is pure speculation, but it's so freaking interesting. You know, you start researching this stuff, and you try and find these links, and you find something that fits. Again, it doesn't fit with the tweets that we covered yesterday that seem to suggest something in Ireland, but, you know, researching this stuff, I mean, everything just sort of fell into place. Like, we have this prison in France. It's an uprising / revolution. It's a historical event for the country. This sort of description, this reign of, you know, the reign of terror fits in as well. So, hey, whatever. Maybe we'll probably have another theory tomorrow, but I really enjoy going through these theories and discussing them with you guys, and you know, looking at the comments and getting some feedback from you guys, because I think it would be an excellent map. You know, you have the mob, you have the terror, you have a prison, you have the French Revolution. Seems like a good fit to me. Anyways, what do you guys think? Interesting? No? Maybe? I guess we'll see. Hopefully we'll see some information released this coming Tuesday, April the 2nd. We're about due, and I would suspect that we're going to see a trailer very, very soon, or some information, official information released by Treyarch. Again, all this is unconfirmed, but we do have that information, you know, coming from two separate sources, one on CallOfDuty.com and the other supposedly on this Xbox Live theme site, wherever that may be. Not sure, but hey, we'll see what happens, right, guys? All we can do is speculate. Hope you guys enjoyed. Until next time, possibly even tomorrow, I'm Spider, and I'm out.